Well, down in the polls today, readying the big guns tomorrow. Fox on top of a president about to tap the ultimate super PAC, his ultimate trump card, Richard Trump. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and it is a good thing unions don't call themselves PACs, because for all of their railing against them, they would be hypocrites if they did, because what the AFL-CIO is set to do bright and early tomorrow is enough to put Sheldon Adelson and Foster Friess together and times 10 to shame. Union boss Richard Trumka promising to marshal at least 400,000 members in what promises to be the costliest door-to-door effort in political history. And with one and only one goal in mind, re-electing Barack Obama. And with enough money to put a casino mogul and all the princely PACs combined to shame. Labor leaders expected to fork over at least $400 million this year in national, state, and local contests, and a quarter of that from the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees alone. Many other unions likely in for what could prove one costly shootout, and one some less politically motivated union members fear could backfire if a Republican takes the White House or Republicans, well, flip the balance of power in the Senate. To a Leary union member in a minute. No matter, union leaders have already told members this election is too important not to get in this big and this deep and this expensive. Tavita Barnes on a president whose own ties and allegiances to unions are getting this much closer and maybe uncomfortable. Peter.
Neil, one of the president's other big labor allies, the Service Employees International Union, said today that there should be restrictions on donations to political super PACs, but not for unions. The SEIU and several public interest groups said that corporations should be barred from super PAC contributions, which are sometimes secret. But the union itself spent $85 million to help Democratic candidates in the 2008 elections and has already donated $1.5 million to an Obama super PAC for this election cycle.
It's also, I think, a little bit of a double standard in the sense that unions have massive resources that they are using to send out their members, you know, the boots on the ground, knocking on doors, staffing phone banks.
Corporations exist for the purpose of maximizing profits. Unions are democratic organizations that exist for the purpose of helping workers express themselves in the workplace and in politics.
The Supreme Court's Citizens United decision in 2010 paved the way for all of these super PACs, striking down limits on some campaign funding, but for everyone, businesses and labor. There's no question donors from business and finance are big donors to super PACs and to campaigns, Republican and Democrat. But so are unions. According to the Associated Press, unions plan to spend more than $400 million in 2012, as you mentioned, to help the president and Democrats get reelected, including another $85 million by the Service Employees International Union alone. Neil?
Amazing numbers. All right, Peter, thank you very much. Well, next to the union guy who says that these unions guys are wasting his money, Terry Bowman doesn't want the UAW playing politics with his dues. You're just concerned, regardless of your views on the election, that enough is enough, right? Explain that, what you're saying.
Well, enough is enough, exactly right, Neil. And what I think people really need to realize is that unions are the single biggest contributor to campaigns in the United States. They were in 2008, 2010, and we can expect the same to be true for 2012. And the Center for Competitive Politics reports that Fortune 500 companies spend on average 0.02% of their profits on political action. However, unions spend upwards of 40, even close to 50% of the forced union dues that they extract from union workers in order to further their political action themselves.
Now, Terry, I've had a chance, and members have passed along to me the kind of mailings they get from leadership of various unions. And the pitch goes something, and I'm sure it's very familiar to you, that we're not trying to get political here. We just very strongly feel that if Republicans take over, the gains that we've witnessed over the last few years will be wiped out. Unions will become a target. What Chris Christie's doing in New Jersey and others Republican governors are doing in the likes of Wisconsin and Florida will become commonplace at the national level, and that the great strides we've made will be reversed. What do you say to that?
Well, I wonder what they're referring to as great strides. But first of all, some of the things that have been happening since responsible elected officials have come into office since 2010 are really necessary in order to create jobs, create a lasting environment for union workers, even in the public sector. And you have to follow the truth and reality. You have to get away from this idea that there is a free-flowing amount of money that can come into unions. What we've seen in the public sector is that there's this cycle of dependency between union officials, the elected officials that they get into office, and it's fed constantly with taxpayer funds. Unfortunately, what we saw in Wisconsin this past year is that truth reared its head like it usually does, and it broke apart this utopian view of that unions can have all of these benefits continuing their way without the ability of union members to have their say in the matter.
We'll watch closely. Terry Bowman, thank you very, very much. Meanwhile, other news for